All right, so as part of the warm-up, we are also looking at writing polynomials as a product of binomials. You can kind of think of each of these as being factors of GCFs. So in order to simplify, I want you to multiply each of those numbers and think of taking out the GCF. So in number 1, what is your GCF? So your GCF is that y minus 1. So it says write each polynomial as a product of 2 binomials. Remember, binomials means 2 terms, and you're thinking GCF. So what we're going to do is we are going to factor out what is like between them. So y minus 1 is the like term for each of those. So it acts as a GCF. So we bring y minus 1 out. And then we simplify and we're left with 8 minus x. So the quantity 8, y minus 1 minus x, y minus 1 is actually equivalent to y minus 1 quantity 8 minus x. Similarly here, both terms have x plus 3. So therefore we can take out an x plus 3. And we have x plus 3 quantity x minus 2. Taking out b plus c, we have b plus c, and then here there's an imaginary 1 in front of that term. So when you take that term out, you have x plus 1. And in 4, our GCF is r minus 1. This time leaving us with m minus 1. Yes?
This might be a dumb question, but why is there a bracket in front of x on number 2?
A what?
For x plus 3 on number 2, why is there a bracket?
Is there a bracket on your note paper?
No, I mean up there. You wrote bracket x plus 3.
No, that's, oh, sorry. No, that's just like the way the pen writes on the iPad. It's not a bracket. I had no idea what you were talking about. I was like, I don't know where you see a bracket. Okay. So we are factor by grouping today. That technique you just saw is actually the last step of factor by grouping. So we're going to work to get the first step, and then what we just did in the warm-up is the last step. So when factor by grouping, you are looking for the following things. So yesterday when we talked about difference of squares and special polynomials, we looked for different types of features. For factor by grouping, the main feature you are looking for is 4 terms. The main thing you are looking for is 4 terms. You're looking for like numbers or GCFs. So what we're going to do is take a 4-term polynomial. We're going to group the terms in sets of 2 and then factor out a GCF. So you group 2 terms, you factor out their GCF, you factor out the remaining GCF, and then you rewrite them as a set of 2 binomial factors. Sometimes we'll encounter polynomials where factoring by grouping does not work. So not every term will do factor by grouping, and sometimes you need to rearrange the terms in order to factor by grouping. So here we have example 1. We have 2x squared minus 6x plus 5x minus 15y. So we're going to just start by grouping them as they are. So you group the first 2 and the last 2. The sign in front of the last 2 terms is not part of the grouping. In a positive case, if it's a negative, then we do group it and we rewrite it as a plus or minus. So we'll see what that looks like on another example. And then we're going to look for the GCF of each of these terms. So 2 and 6 both have a divisor of 2. So we take out a 2. Each term has at least one x, so we take out an x. And that leaves me with x minus 6 divided by 2 was 3. X divided by x went away. So you're left with x minus 3y. And then in the second part, we can take out a 5 from each of those terms. So we take out our 5. They have no common variables, and we're left with x minus 3y. What you are left with inside your parentheses needs to match. So what I underlined in red has to match. If they have not matched, then you cannot do factor by grouping, or you have not factored by grouping correctly. So we take out our GCF again, which is quantity x minus 3, leaving behind 2x plus 5. In example 2, again, we're always going to start by trying to group the first 2 and the last 2. So you can see here, this is a case where I said there's a negative. That negative gets grouped inside my parentheses. So that negative is inside the parentheses. You can almost think of this as 8x to the 4th plus 6x plus negative 28x cubed minus 21. And the reason for that will be that that negative is going to become part of my GCF. So what can I take out of 8 and 6? Well, they both divide by 2. X to the 4th and x takes out an x. So I'm left with 4x cubed plus 3. And again, a quick distributing back, we can see that we get that 8x to the 4th plus 6x. Here, since both terms are negative, I'm going to bring out a negative, and I'm going to take out a 7. So dividing negative 28 by negative 7, I get 4x cubed. Negative 21 divided by negative 7 leaves a positive 3. So I get 2x minus 7, quantity 4x cubed plus 3. In example 3, once again, you're going to group that negative with the second term. Find your GCF. In this case, I need to once again take out a negative because I can see here my x is positive and my 3 is negative. So in order to make this term match, I need to bring out a negative 1. So that leaves me with that positive x and negative 3, making my second terms match. So I have 3x squared minus 1, x minus 3. And what we're going to focus and move on to is being able to solve these. So right now we're working on all the different ways to factor. After we get all the techniques this week for factoring, next week we're going to work on solving. So we're going to be taking these one step further. Okay, number 4. So once again, I can see I take out a negative, leaving me with x minus 2. You always can just do a quick distributive back to make sure everything matches. We get 4x squared minus 9 and x minus 2. What does 4x squared remind you of? Should seem very similar to yesterday. So 4 is a perfect square, x squared is a perfect square, 9's a perfect square. So this problem is not factored completely because 4 and 9 are both perfect squares with a subtraction in the middle. So you actually have to factor this down one more time. So you have 2x minus 3, 2x plus 3, x minus 2. So this has more factorizations. All right. So your homework is the next page that follows in that packet. You're doing the factor by grouping. There are 2 pages. You're still doing that front and the back. So I know yours aren't front and back though, because I think Mrs. Ward gave you the actual lesson outline on the front of your packets, maybe. She gave you the lesson outline on the very front? Yeah. So that messed up all my front and backs. I would have thrown a blank page in there. So your homeworks ended up being over 2 pages instead of becoming fronts and backs when I looked at the packets. So you're doing the factor by grouping and then the homework assignment that follows after. That's kind of a review of everything we've been doing with GCFs, etc.